Welcome back. This is the third in the series of Bible studies that were a part of the biblical basis for the 5 articles that I wrote earlier. I wrote them before I got sick. I wrote them before I went to the hospital. Judy very faithfully posted each one of the articles in its appropriate time frame. So when I came back home from the hospital, I could tell that there were a lot of very intense feelings that had been expressed. And they said that I had stopped preaching about Jesus. And shame on me, I liked it much better when I was teaching about Jesus rather than politics. Except if you're in Biosphere 2020, it's all mixed up together. It's absolutely mixed up right together. There's no, back in the Navy, we used to separate the water from the oil by putting it in a spin separator, and it would spin the oil away and filter the water out of it and just have the pure oil, the lubricating oil for the engines. Well, there's no way I can spin out the impurities so I can just talk about. So what I did in those articles, very simply, was to tell a story about my life, a story about my experience, the story of how God has moved me through the years from one level to the next, and then finally, in the final letter, to say that I feel like what I learned from having my experience applies to the world we live in today. Okay, so was it biblical? No, I didn't quote any verses. Did I quote Jesus? No, I didn't quote Jesus at all. So was it a worthless adventure? It'd be easy to let people off the hook and say, well, it's just me. Don't pay no attention, it's just me. But it's not just me. It's always based on the fact and the pattern and the life and the teaching of Jesus Christ himself. It always has been. It's not something different. It's not something separated. What we're going to find in this lesson, when he starts to talk about the third parable in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, is exactly what I said in the 5th article. Does it sound harsh? Yeah. It doesn't sound happy. Does it sound judgmental? Yeah. A little. Does it sound angry? No. Does it sound firm? Absolutely. There's no argument about what's coming. Is it clear, well thought, presented rationally, thoughtfully, carefully? Absolutely. Is there any argument that there's somehow a lack of understanding? Well, let's see. This is the third of the parables of Jesus, Matthew 25. Let me start with verse 31 today. When the Son of Man comes in his glory. Now, Jesus was anything but in his glory when he rode the donkey, a little colt of a donkey, into Jerusalem. That's about as humble as a person can get. poor men would come to Jerusalem. Poor men would come to Jerusalem on the back of a donkey, even the colt of a donkey. So when the Son of Man comes in his glory, he's talking about the conquering hero, the one who is going to be the master of all things. And he's going to be the one that puts everything under his feet. Let's start again. That was just too good. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. I'm sorry. See him sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he'll separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He'll put the sheep on his right hand and the goats on his left. Then the king, remember the Son of Man? Remember all the glory? Remember the throne? Now the king will say to those on his right, that's Jesus. Okay, the king. All right? Say to those on his right, come, you who are blessed by my Father. See how I know it's Jesus? Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or need clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? And the king will reply, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Now I'm going to stop there for a second, because I think there's plenty to chew on right there. Rewards are wonderful. Plaques for years of faithful service are wonderful. I don't have any trophies on my shelf because I didn't win any sports contests. I want you to understand, rewards are wonderful, but I haven't gotten many. No. Rewards are the result of superior performance. I want only one reward. I don't care if every person gets every reward ever offered and I get none. I'll be satisfied if he says, welcome home. Welcome home. Whatever you did for these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Listen to me carefully. If you don't feel the heart of Christ calling out to you in this election, saying, do you see the sorrow? Do you feel the pain? Do you understand the hopelessness? Do you feel the powerlessness of being a minority in this country that are locked up by far more just because of the color of their skin? Do you see what that does to family lives? Do you feel the sorrow? Don't you see in the eyes of those who seem so angry that there just might be a reason for the least of these, my brothers and my sisters? You care? You care? The world has become divided, polarized, left and right, capitalists, communists, whatever that means. They've all lost their meaning anymore. There's no liberal and conservative anymore. There's just tribes. I got my tribe. I like the way I feel when I find people who are in my tribe. I get really angry when I see people who are in the other tribe. Jesus doesn't deal with tribes. He doesn't deal with political parties. He said, do you see the people? The least of these, the sick, the ones with COVID, the ones who are struggling for months and months and months to regain health. Who can't seem to shake it off. Or are you one of those groups that just says, I'm going to party no matter what anybody else says? I'm a citizen of the United States of America. Nobody's going to impinge on my freedom. What do you think Jesus is saying to you? The least of these, my brothers and my sisters, you did it to me. Please understand, I'm not trying to be political. I'm trying to help you learn empathy, Christ-like love, and accountability. Empathy and accountability. We are all going to be held accountable. We are going to be held accountable. When we look into the faces of the children with no mothers and fathers to take care of them, when we look into those who are locked up in the nursing homes and can't get out, and nobody else can get in. Well, it doesn't affect me because our community doesn't have that kind of problem. We're in pretty good shape. We've fought our way back in Arizona from being one of the worst ones, the highest number of cases, to now we're in pretty good shape. So I don't have anything to worry about. We're good. Don't you ever worry that there's not even enough compassion in the leadership of this nation? The nation that beat smallpox, who developed penicillin, who overcame all those childhood diseases, measles and rubella and tetanus. We had task force that went out across this world and fought Ebola in the borders of the communities and countries where they were developed, and it didn't even leave their communities. And our doctors, our nurses, our experts went there to help them develop what they needed to be able to be protected. We did nothing. We did nothing. We did nothing. Show me where all the doctors went. Did they go to China? Did they go to Italy? Did they go to France? Did they go to these countries that were suffering? Did they try and find a way to do this? No. We had sent the doctors home. Don't bother us. We don't want to pay your wages to try and fight these diseases anymore. They had emptied out the labs. This nation that had a reputation for doing good things to people around the world is now a laughingstock because we've had 202,000 of our own people just die. No one cares. Not even enough to put a mask instructions on our people. Not even enough compassion to look out for and prepare for what needs to be done in these places where the breakouts are so bad. Just let it run. We're going to have herd immunity one day. Herd immunity, even at a 1% mortality, even at a 1% mortality, which is incredibly low, means 2 million of our citizens will die. And you think that's a good idea? You think that's what Jesus was pointing to? For the least of these, my brothers? Here's the problem. And then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, you who are cursed." Ooh, that sounds so harsh. That sounds so final. That sounds so eternal. That's much harsher than my article was. You who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. Have you ever heard sadder words in your life? And what was their crime? What would cause people to have to march off into the fire of hell for all eternity? Here's what it was. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in. I needed clothes, and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, or in the nursing home by that means, and you did not look after me. And they will answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger, needing clothes or sick or in prison, and did not help you? And he will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do it for me. And then they will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life. If you thought I was harsh, you ain't seen nothing yet. If you thought I was political, you didn't understand the reasons why I was trying to talk to you, write to you, warn you. Listen, the day of accounting is coming. 202,000 of the least of these have been buried in the earth. Because somebody didn't care. Somebody just didn't care. I can't be as harsh as Jesus is at the close of this parable. I simply tell you what he said. There's going to be a day when those who do not feel the pain and the sorrow, the sickness, the helplessness, the powerlessness, the feeling of being trapped, the sense of being completely wrapped up in despair, no hope, and those people die, suffer, go through the agony of grief and sorrow when their family members are shot, killed, mutilated, left paralyzed, and their brothers and their sisters didn't care. My friends, I can't be as harsh as Jesus is. My heart is broken. I can't do it. I can't do it. But I can say there's going to be a day of accountability. And somebody is going to pay for not caring.